Hey guys, welcome to our second junior coaching session. So this is going to be around an hour's worth of coaching, a session that's going to be about an hour's length in time, and it's going to have a focus in and around elimination skills. We'll obviously have a little bit of defending in there as well, but the focus will very much be around a variety of elimination style skills, ball control, finishing up with some small games, and it's going to work in a carousel style initially, and junior players, younger players are going to work through some skills for 3 or 4 minutes before they rotate. So what I want you to do is to set up your drills like this, so you can work in a quarter of a pitch, 1, 2, 3, 4 sections, and this will be for a group of, let's say, 16 to 20 players, somewhere along those lines. You can do it with more, that's no problem. You can also do it with less as well. So within each of these sections, we're going to have a different skill focus. So you can set them up like this. So the first one, I just want you to set up little lines of 3 cones. Okay, players are going to dribble around this section, and what they're going to do is they're going to fake a pass at the cones, and the idea for that is that we're looking to try and set an opposition player down on the floor in a low position. So we're just going to try and fake a pass, and we're going to deliberately try to make it look like you're going to pass towards the cones from 3 or 4 yards away. So players are going to be dribbling around, 4 or 5 players in a section. We're going to fake a pass there, and then we're going to change direction and go somewhere else. So we're looking at good ball carrying position, faking our pass, and then dribbling off somewhere else. And we're going to do that for 2 or 3 minutes before we rotate, okay? So 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes in there with a break halfway through. Second one in here, okay, is I want you to set up gates that are a couple of yards apart, okay? Players will be dribbling around. When they see someone else on the other side of a gate, so let's say we're dribbling around here, we've got another player here, we're going to try and build a connection, and we're basically going to swap our balls by passing through the gates and swapping our balls. So we're looking at trying to build a connection with someone else in the group of 3 or 4 or 5 players, and we're looking to offload the ball nice and quickly, get it under control, and go somewhere else, okay? If there's nobody on to pass through a gate, you need to go somewhere else, okay? So again, 3 or 4 minutes on this exercise, perhaps 2 minutes, take a break, and then come back, because there will be quite a lot of dribbling involved. In this next one along here, what we're going to do is we're just going to have players dribbling around, but you're going to need 2 balls per player, and the players have to dribble around with both balls under control. So what we're looking for here is how the players have a good carrying position and just knocking the ball out in front of them, but also changing direction with both hockey balls. So it's quite a tricky little exercise, this. Obviously, the further you knock one ball, you then got to knock the other ball to keep it up and keep the balls relatively close to each other. The better players will be the ones that can do it obviously quickly and changing direction as well. The ones that are going to be struggling will be the ones that are walking along, and we want to just try and encourage those guys to make a few more mistakes and do things a little bit quicker, okay? And then the final one up here, I want you to set up lines of cones, 3 or 4 cones, maybe 4 cones. And what we're going to focus on in here is lots of little lifting skills. So wherever you see a little line of cones, we're going to dink and we're going to lift the ball over. So we're trying to get our young players comfortable with getting the ball up in the air and 3D skills. For players that are a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more competent, we can look at reverse stick dinks, we can look at double movements in the air, we can look at how we can attack the line of cones with a bit more speed, which will make it more technical as well. So a lifting skill, 2 balls under control, making a connection with a partner by making a pass through the gates, and then a fake pass, which is a really nice one. I like that one personally, because what it does is we're trying to get an opposition defender to be in a low position so we can attack the space around that player. Okay, so those are your 4 different skills, 3, 4, 5 minutes on each one, and then rotate. Groups of 3, 4, or 5 in a section. And as a coach, you should be wandering up and down, okay, giving little tips and little pointers and showing lots of encouragement to the group as well. Okay, so we've completed the first carousel of skills. the 4 skills from earlier. We then move straight into what I call King of the Hill. There's a couple of different names for this probably, but it's King of the Hill, okay? This is our hill, okay, where our players are playing. This is the top of the mountain, top of the hill, and this is the bottom. So what we're now looking for players to do is to go and play 1v1 in a rectangular box. This is probably a pretty good size, so it's half of the width of the quarter. It's probably 5 or 6, 7 yards wide. Again, you can adapt and you can amend that depending on the ability of your players. So the idea here is we play 1v1 for probably 90 seconds. You score points by getting your ball under control on the line. So the red here has got to get it under control on the halfway line. The blue would have to get it under control here on some cones or some flat strip markers that you line out. Okay, and you score a point by getting the ball under control. You can leave the ball there and then step back and the other player can have a go, or you can turn and burn. So you get rewarded by scoring a point on the line. So you can decide how that looks. And within that 90-second period, what we're then trying to do is just basically accrue as many points as we can. Whoever wins in that 90-second period, let's say the Reds win here 3-2, they will move up towards the top. The Blues will move down. Okay, so what we'll have then is, let's say the Reds lost here and there was a blue that won here, we would go into there and we'd have the next matchup. And the idea is that we're trying to progress up the ladder or up to the top here of the mountain. Okay, you might want to get some of the better players in the group starting towards the bottom. You might want to shuffle players around a little bit. You'll end up finding that after 6, 7 or 8 goes, the better players, the more confident and the competent players will be towards the top, and the lesser players in ability will be down towards the bottom. That's no bad thing. We want to get people working in equal and stretching situations as well. So that's a really nice way of using the skills from the first exercise into this King of the Hill. If you've got lots and lots of players, what you can do is you can set up it like this, and you as the coach can walk up and down the middle here, and then we might have this is the top here and this is the bottom, and you have to snake your way up if you've got lots of players here. So you keep yourself quite compact and you keep yourself in there. We can then progress this on, so we play 2v2 in a box area. So we can just bring a 2v2 scenario. Again, same rules apply. And again, we can also progress it onto 3v3. If you're going to play 3v3 and you're playing, you've got players that are maybe more intermediate beginner as a junior, you might want to open the space out. So you might say, we'll play a 3v3 in a slightly bigger area here. So we've made some bigger sections. If they're better players, better juniors, more competent, you can play in a tighter area to really challenge their skills. And again, you might want to just adapt and vary those depending on the group that you've got. But that's a really nice way of incorporating lots of different skill work. And also in there, you're going to want to look at some of the defending principles as well. So make sure you check out the defending principles in our defending section part of the app. And we'd probably run that for 15 minutes or so, with a couple of periods where we chat after 5 minutes or so, or every 3 or 4 rotations. Okay, so we're into the final part of the session now. We've done our 4 carousels, our 4 skills within a carousel situation for the first 15 minutes or so, 15-20 minutes. Then we moved on to our King of the Hill for 10 or 15 minutes there. So we were up to sort of 45 minutes probably of delivery. And then our final 15 or 20 minutes is going to be some mini games, and we know the juniors are going to absolutely love this. This will be exciting. So depending on your numbers, we're going to try and play 4v4 in each section here, so or even a 3v3. So we're up to sort of 24 players, 18 players, something like that in the group. We've got 3 different game situations going on here. So we've got like a multiple goal here. So we've got multi-goal, so you can score in any of the 2 goals here. So that's a nice way of getting players to identify the space and identify opportunities around scoring in either of the 2 goals. Okay, so that's a nice way to set that one up there. We've got the reverse goals here, so we've switched the goals, we turn them round, so you can bring in the full-size goals, or you can set up some smaller mini goals. And ideally here we'll have some flat strip markers or even cones, and we'll create a circle that's probably about 5 to 8 yards across here. And nobody is allowed in that area, so what it avoids doing is people standing in the goal, and we want to avoid goal hanging because we want to make people, we want to get people out there playing rather than goal hanging. So set up the goals there, and by reversing the goals to face outwards, we're gonna open up the play as much as we can and really stretch out the pitch. And then our final one here are some end zones, so we can play a turn and burn game. Many of you will be familiar with a turn and burn game here. So the players have to get the ball into the end zone, so the Blues would have to get it up into here, and if they do, they're looking to turn and get back to the other end zone there, and the Reds are obviously stopping that from happening, and if they win the ball, they're doing exactly the same thing. If you've got odd numbers, you can put players on the side and get those guys rotating in. And as a coach, I'll be looking to position myself somewhere here in the middle so I can observe the little mini games that are going on. And you can make it a tournament style as well. So here you're going to have 6 teams, and you can play 5 little games. Each game may be 3 or 4 minutes long, and have a winner at the end. And just try and get all the groups playing each other on a variety of different pitches so they get a taste and a feel for it. And then towards the end of the session, you'll be looking to ask them questions along the lines of like, how did the scenarios mimic or take away from a real life game situation? What did they enjoy? What did they struggle with? Because we know that juniors will want to play lots and lots of games, and this is a nice way of setting it up, but also to inject some of the themes that you've done and focused on earlier in the session. So we've got our elimination skills that you're going to need to use in these tight areas, identifying space, being confident on the ball, and also playing with injecting speed and pace into the exercises as well. That's really, really important from my perspective. So you've got your carousel of skills for this session, 10, 12, maybe 15 minutes long. We've got our King of the Hill, which is probably in reality 15 minutes long, so 35, 40 minutes worth of work after a drink and some conversations. Final part of the hour, or maybe hour and a quarter if you're working with juniors, we'll go into our mini game situations here, okay? And towards the end of the session, it'd probably be nice to reward players on some of the guys that did the skill work really nicely, those that performed well in the King of the Hill, and then how people are performing well in the game scenarios as well. So that's a really nice junior style session for about an hour, up to an hour and a quarter, depending on how long you work each skill for.